You want answers?
I think I'm entitled to.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is 0 Dark 30 and we are off. Well, off to the races. And boy, I tell you, it's a race we can't afford to lose. The topic, the SNITCH superstate of SHTF. So often, folks, so many times, we compare bad things that government does to the Nazis. And also to the Soviet communists and the Chi-Coms, even though Nazis take the cake because we've been so conditioned to believe they're the absolute worst, even though communism killed far more of its own people, right? Just they stigmatized the Nazis so much more because of Jews and their work camps, their prison camps, their concentration camps. It goes to show the power of propaganda. Now, this is important to the superstate, folks. It's critically important to the SNITCH superstate in our discussion of it. We talk about the Nazis and how Hitler used his propaganda to tell the people, right? Snitch on your neighbor if they are violating the law, right? Hitler's law, Nazis' law. If your neighbor isn't patriotic enough, if your neighbor is doing something suspicious, snitch, snitch, snitch. Now, back then, to snitch, you couldn't just pick up the phone. Not everyone had phones. I mean, they were popular at that time, but picking up the phone. You know, how did you go about snitching? Well, you would have to reveal who you were, right? Go and walk up to a Nazi officer on the street, or go to a Nazi office and snitch on someone, file a report. Wow. Imagine doing that to your neighbor. How difficult that must have been. Well, it's your patriotic duty. Well, guess what? In Australia, it is becoming your patriotic duty to snitch. Once again, folks, the SNITCH superstate is being activated. If you oppose and object to government rules, you should be snitched on, right? People are going to start taking that attitude. Well, I don't want to criticize the government because someone's going to snitch on me for being anti-government or anti-medicine or anti-science or anti-anything, anti-propaganda. Now, what makes the SNITCH superstate so much more insidious today is that prior to this request by governments, and it's not just Australia, folks. Obama started this shit over 10 years ago. The See Something, Say Something campaign. Well, if you see something, you should say something. In other words, if something looks suspicious to you, you should say something about it. You should snitch on your neighbor. So what have scumbags and political opponents of each other done? Well, the same thing they've always done, only now they're more empowered. Red flag laws. The internet, folks, of all things, allows you to be monitored. And if you're monitored, you are controlled. That's right. Monitoring of people controls them. That's why government loves monitors so much. They love snitches that much. If they can monitor you, you know it. You're being controlled. You're going to watch your tongue. You're going to watch your behavior. You're going to pay closer attention to where you're at and who you're associating with, because you don't want anyone to think anything untoward of you, that you might not be the ideal citizen. The super snitch state is now empowered by Karens, right? Or rather, the super state empowers the Karens. It allows anonymous complaints, even though you're never truly anonymous, but people feel anonymous the same way they can be here on YouTube. And what do? Oh, they write all sorts of shit, right? Because they think they're anonymous and no one can touch them. They can make up stories because they don't like your politics or your perspective or your frame of mind. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. You could take the John's personality, the same guy I am today, take my personality, my perspective, the things I would say and do from 20 years ago, fast forward and drop them into me today, and you would find me to be a much more audacious, loud person. Because I wouldn't have all these filters saying, well, I can't talk about cerveza-bug, and I can't talk about medicine, and I can't talk about this social group, and I can't talk about that social group, and I can't talk about this topic, and I can't discuss that topic, and I have to be careful of those politics, and I sure as heck can't say something about this area. Well, I don't think I was grossly exaggerating, but I do talk all that I can about all of these subjects. International politics and regular politics. I try not to pull any punches, folks. And I try and be provocative for the sake of getting people to think. That's what it's always been about, is to provoke people into a conversation so they can think. So they have to think, which makes them uncomfortable. Folks, people want to feel safe and all warm and fuzzy. They don't want to think. So when you ask them to think, it hurts them. It scares them. Yeah, it does. It truly does. Because they're cowards and they're weak. And the super state, folks, the super state, the snitch super state encourages that. They want people to feel safe with them and unsafe having to think for themselves. And so when they feel unsafe or threatened, what do? Well, they snitch. Oh, that person made me feel uncomfortable because they're questioning the state's authority. They're questioning whether or not the government has the right and the power. The government has no right. Government has authority. Government has privilege granted by the people. But people don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear that their government's not all powerful. So it scares them when people question the government. When you have the audacity to question and antagonize and insult people in the public who have power and authority, right? Questioning politicians, questioning political parties, questioning political movements. Well, they'll question the shit out of you, will they not? Oh, yeah, you're a right-wing fascist, white supremacist, terrorist, blah, 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 domestic bad guy. So you should be snitched on. Understand, folks, this is going to increase, not decrease. It's not going to just go away. It's going to persist. It is. We need to be aware of it. The only way to fight it, folks, is not to cower to it. The way you defeat this is to stand up to it and fight it. I am going to fight it that way, by not being silent, by continuing to talk and question, and make this snitch super state expose itself for what it is. They become every bit as murderous as anything else because it's one more step on the way to total tyranny, total state fascism, total corporate fascism, because they want to control you. If they can control your speech, they're controlling you. If they can control your speech, they're controlling thought. If they can scare you, they're controlling you. Right? Control, control, control. That's what they want. That's what they need. Are you prepared? Are you prepared to stand up for yourself? Are you prepared to oppose evil? Are you prepared with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense? Are you prepared? The state doesn't want you to prepare. The government doesn't want you prepared. They want you, well, they want you scared because you're controllable. And they want you to snitch on anyone that makes you feel uncomfortable. And they'll even tell you it's your duty. They'll even tell you it's good. And folks, just like the Nazis, they will reward snitches. Well, it's a heck of a time to be alive, don't you think? Chance favors the prepared mind.
Well, well, well. I think we were right.